Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. Today we're going to be coaching a Yone one trick playing mid lane and top lane, talking just kind of about some of the basics of these roles, understanding really how waves work, like how to push waves, when to rotate. These kind of types of things are going to be the main things we talk about. Sorry I've been uploading a lot of coaching lately, been kind of sick, and so when I coach people I just end up being like, okay, I'll just record these and upload them because they're an easy video. So, as always, if you guys are interested in getting coached by a rank 5 Sovereign Autofill player, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server. It's just $15 an hour for coaching, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. But yeah, so decision making later on in the game, and then also just dealing with bad teammates. And so you play him mid when you're autofill mid too. I mean, that makes sense.
Actually, I was purposely queuing mid this game because like I felt like maybe I wasn't doing enough top lane because I'm like not very team oriented top lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely different rules, so I guess it's good since if you're a one trick, which Yone is a pretty good one trick, and then you can have mid and top lane coaching, so you kind of understand how to play both.
Yeah.
So our matchup is Ari. Inter range matchups. There's usually one of two things you do. You're either just going to you're going to last hit and let them push it into you, or you're going to play for level diffs and then you're going to be the one crashing the wave. So usually if they just don't show up right away, just hard push the wave. The reason you do this is because after you kill all these minions, you're going to get level 2, and so then you can just take your W if you want, get a decent little trade, even if they end up showing up, and like you're going to be fine. And then you have the lane pushing, and so that's just beneficial for you, because if the lane's pushing, you get the opportunity to potentially rotate to like make the first move to have the level diff, that type of thing. But if she showed up right away and was zoning you and whatever, you would just walk up just for last hits instead. So
Okay, I kind of just egoed this lane because I was playing with Grasp, and also like ever since I got in plat, I just realized like I can just ego most of my lane opponents.
Yeah.
A lot of tilt queuing.
I mean, when I'll smurf or whatever, a lot of times I'll just start taking really dumb trades and all in, and sometimes like I'll get solo killed by like a plat player. Like it just like it happens. But the reality is you just have to approach the game the same way you would approach any lane phase. You can't really like go for random greedy things. And so this is kind of the first mistake. Luckily it didn't matter. Once you get prio in something like this, especially really early, you can go for a better word. You don't really need to word this. This doesn't give you very much information. For example, a jungle can still gank through here. They can go around further. They can gank around here. And you don't actually spot the jungle until he pretty much gets into this bush. So you get very little vision from this. If you have the luxury, like if you push a lane really hard, word a camp. Because if you word a camp, you can actually figure out what they're doing. So here you're at 52 seconds. Just go word the blue buff. The blue buff gives you so much information because, okay, say the blue buff is gone. What do you know if the blue buff is taken?
He's pathing top.
Yeah, and then vice versa. If blue buff's not there yet, not only do you know he's pathing like towards the blue side, like you said, but you also will see him on the blue buff. He's not going to gank you after 3 camps unless he's bad, and if he's bad, then good. You're playing against a bad player. That's nice, right? Like either way, it's beneficial for you, even if he ends up ganking you before you see him there. So that's why that type of word is usually going to be a lot more beneficial. And then this was a kind of like a risky one. It ended up actually working out really nice for you and getting the grass proc, so I mean, we'll take it. But I definitely am not a fan of doing that, because if she's not awful and Ari charms you or something, it's not great. But either way, at this point, I would just push the lane really hard and not really worry about getting traded on. But I wouldn't worry about trading with her either. And the reason I'd want to push really hard is because you should have enough gold right now to recall for your boots. And so by doing that, you're going to just be way, way stronger than her. But when you end up getting stuck here for a long time, you can see now the next wave's coming. You're now down health and everything like that. And you're just kind of stuck here. So we would have rather pushed that wave really quick and just recalled on this wave so we can get that advantage. You're going to lose like 1 minion, and then it doesn't really matter. You just come back, you're down 1 minion, and you're going to be way stronger item-wise, so it doesn't matter. So like playing around the item diffs in general is important, because it was very likely that you would get ganked here, because again, if we go back to the time, let's look at the time that this next wave came. Let's look at the timer on the map, but we'll say it's roughly 1:30.
Yeah, so Scuttle's up.
Yeah, Scuttle spawns, very obvious that you're going to get ganked. Lee Sin could pretty much be done with the full clear this time, so obviously you don't get ganked, so we'll take it, but like many times this gank would happen, but the wave before, it's pretty unlikely you get ganked that early unless the enemy are skipping camps, which again, if they're skipping camps that early, either you're inting or they're just making a really dumb mistake, so it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times when you do get the initial recall off, this is what happens. They'll recall to match. Now you hard push the wave. After hard pushing the wave, you rotate. Because you're usually not going to kill RE level 5. You're not going to kill most champs level 5 when they come back full health, full mana. And so instead of trying to fight her under turret, like even going for that, your goal should just be find a roam angle. And then if you don't see a roam angle, you just go back to the wave right after. Like here, for example, had you roamed 5 seconds earlier, you would have probably found a kill on this guy because he's level 4, you're level 5. You'd just be able to kill him, or at least, you know, trade decently well with them. You'll come back to lane, there's nothing really to miss out on. Then you just do this again. But again, instead of trading with them here, just clear the wave and then try to leave. Because, like, again, you're just not going to kill her here unless she completely messes up when she has ultimate flash and basically full health, so.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, in general, it's kind of about understanding when there's the difference between, like, I'm playing to win lane and I'm playing to leave and go rotate. And for the last, say, like, 30 seconds to a minute, your goal should have been to leave because there's no real angle to kill. And so again, like, that's what I like. This is perfect. And like, people sometimes feel like they're wasting time. This is exactly what I want you doing. I want you like, oh, can I do something? No. Okay, I'm gonna just go back now. The only issue is where you decided to go. You should go to bot side. Do you know why you should go bottom side and not top side on this specific gank?
Is it because Aurelia just crashed her wave, so she's gonna recall, and bot is pushing away right now?
Those are both two factors. And then the third factor is that your jungler is bot side. So 100% both those are correct, and then also your jungler is going, and typically you want to go with your jungler for most roams because it's just obviously going to work out a lot better. So yeah, but I'm glad that you see those angles as well. And then yeah, say we go bot side here on that same decision, obviously we'd probably end up getting a kill right now, so that's why that'd be very beneficial. And then but in terms of like the decision, it's perfect. You pushed your wave and then you went top side to look for a gank. Nothing came up, so you just went right back. That's exactly what I want you to be doing more frequently, like around this time frame. Even now, for example, instead of really trading with them. So.
Got you. Okay.
I think if you just ulted, you'd be fine. Maybe you're still fine. Okay. Like, I think if you kind of predict that earlier, you can just ult, and then it's like, oh, I don't have to flash now. Because the thing is, your ult would come back by dragon, and when you're kind of deciding what cooldown, okay, that's pretty ballsy, but when you're deciding what cooldown to use, you want to decide it based on, like, you know, the fight. So say that you got ganked and there were 25 seconds before the dragon, I'd want you to flash because your ult is needed for a fight regardless. But we have a minute and like 10 seconds until the dragon would spawn, so it's like your ult cooldown is like 60 seconds. That's fine, it's gonna be right back up. But now you don't have flash, which is why in that case, if you just insta-ulted out, unless he blocks your thing, like you're gonna be fine. So it's just, that's a smaller thing. I'm fine with flashing. It's not like a huge deal, but that's the type of like optimization that sometimes is important. So.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Really okay, that's unlucky.
Yeah.
Okay, again, same rotation thing, right? Our jungler's topside. We want to go topside here, and so we just move towards that side instead of moving towards the scuttle. The scuttle doesn't really do anything. It's like if your jungler's topside, and and you can even see he dies here, right? Like if we're there, that's just gonna be a kill. And so yeah, we got to play around our jungle with a lot more rotations as well. So that's kind of the main thing. But in terms of, again, you pushed your wave right before an objective and you rotated, that's perfect, just to the other side, and then we're chilling. Yeah, now it's just kind of a random fight where our team's not really even like in a good position to fight this. It might end up working out since their jungler's not here, but that was a weird like you went over the wall, so it didn't hit.
Yeah, I got pushed by something.
Yeah, that was,
I think
that was odd.
Drag.
Yeah, I mean the fight, like in terms of how you played it, you played the fight fine. It's just more the approach again, like we said, and then that's fine. Still in a decent spot to play the game, and at this point now, I would look to try to side lane a lot more, like after. And again, I think a lot of these times you're just kind of wasting time trying to get this Ahri, and it's like we're not gonna kill Ahri with ultimate pretty much ever. So I need to just understand this sooner, and then. And again, I don't want you mid now, like right. Our entire team's bot side, we have time to just get a free wave top side. Like, there's no reason after the first 5 minutes that you actually ever have to be mid, unless it's just not covered. So, like, obviously
Gotcha.
mid wasn't technically covered, but you just pushed mid, top lane wasn't covered. You can cheat and get an additional wave there, and then just go right back towards mid if your top laner or someone doesn't cover mid. And if someone does cover mid, you just get to get plates or hit the turret or something.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think when I play mid, I'm just like super greedy for waves.
Yeah, I mean, well, I want you greedy for waves. I just don't want you it only being the mid wave.
Yeah.
That's more the issue, is that you're just perma mid. Which again, it's fine for you to be mid when no one's mid. The problem is you had an opportunity to try to get your team to come to another lane. And then again, if they just ended up not coming, then you just go back once the wave reaches, because it's like, you know, if they're going to give you free waves, you can still take them. But obviously here now we're just stuck kind of getting bullied by ranged champions, and so it doesn't really like work for
Yeah.
us very well. I mean, I guess it might work out. She has no mana, so yeah. Oh, okay, she did die. So
Yeah, I got
yeah, I mean,
everything.
it works out still. I think the mechanics of the champ like aren't really the issue either. So that's like the good thing, is like you definitely know how to pilot your champ well. That's a kill. Nope. Damn.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, but you do go for a lot of like kind of just plays in mid that are really greedy, trying to just solo kill someone when it doesn't seem like a super likely thing to happen. Like even there, like it
Yeah.
ends up working, catching them out. They're just griefing there, like not even using their flash. Ari's not ulting until like the end. Like all these things happen, and it's like that's not going to work out most of the time later on. Which is why if we're spending the time in the side lane first, it's really nice. And then the nice thing is too, you go side lane. It's not like you're just going to chill side lane the whole time. You're just going there to get the wave pushed. Once you push the wave, you can come right back and do the same thing you're doing here. It's just that, well, now there's a wave pushing bot side, which means one, someone else might go respond there, which means there's less people in mid to fuck with you. And two, you get an additional 200 gold for free because, again, your teammates just don't cover waves properly. So it's like you can pretty much just cover multiple waves. Like, again, for some reason, everyone stops that on your team. Nobody even knows bot lane exists, and there's a nice-ass bot wave. So it's fine to get this wave, but as soon as you get this wave, just go get the other bot wave. That's literally almost a kill's worth of gold. Instead, we're trading really hard again. When trading really hard, just pokes out Lux, who will just like recall or something. But if you just go bot lane here, that's free gold, but instead you recall first. No reason to recall, because you could get that bot gold and then recall, and that looks like 5 minions, and then there's going to be 4 more minions. That's 9 minions. That's over 300 gold. That's a kill's worth of gold. So you just lost a kill by not going bot lane. And you can see those waves that like that wave is dying. Now only one of the minions from that original wave is even cleared by your Nyla. So that's 150 gold lost for your team, and that's over 300 gold that you could have had that you're not getting. And now you're in mid again. And you see topside wave is doing the same thing right now, and we're mid again when our team is here. So we're just kind of sitting here on the same wave, basically. So I think the overall understanding in the mid game that you need is just that you can play on multiple lanes. And in an ideal world, you catch 2 waves on one like wave. And what I mean is, like, obviously a wave will spawn in top, mid, and bot at the same time. And what you want to try to be able to do to carry solo queue games is to get 2 of those 3 waves that have spawned, because that's just obviously way more gold, right? So like that's kind of the goal that you're trying to do in terms of waves when there's no objective or nothing. And then obviously when you see a free kill, go take the kill. Like, you know your champion well, you're good mechanically, you're going to be able to get kills. So when you see a kill angle, go for it, but don't go for a kill on a full health Ahri with ultimate and flash who's under her turret. Like, that's not the type of thing that we need to go for. Even if it'll work out in plat, because they're going to just not click their buttons, it's not going to work out when we get higher, and it's not a guaranteed play. So
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
also, a nice thing about, if, like, say you're on a side lane here, right before an objective, if you're on a side lane, you can go behind now. You have a flank angle naturally created for yourself, because they don't have the vision. You can go around there, like around this area, find like a flank through the bush. Instead, you just have to hope that they walk into your ultimate through vision when they see you, which again will happen sometimes, but if they see you coming, obviously it's just harder to work out. So
yeah.
And yeah, I'm assuming we'll just see more of the same things we'll see, but again, if you go mid here, I don't mind, as long as we go somewhere else right after, but I'm assuming we're just going to continue to go mid wave. We do end up going to fight here, because we obviously see a free fight, so I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, even here, like I'd just get the top wave. You also would lifesteal, like your champ lifesteals a bunch. I would just be going and getting that top wave. There's a good lifesteal thing. Well, I mean, you get a bunch here, and then like I just go lifesteal off the top wave. I mean, you can just kill Jinx. Actually, well, like why is she just? That made no sense. You just forgot you guys were there, but like that. Also, what are you building like that like tank build? Or are you building just crit?
I build crit, like I usually build like 3 crit items, or 2 crit and then Bork, of course, and then I
Yeah.
usually go Divine and then what's it called? Twin Guard?
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I usually go Twin Guard like last item, unless they're like heavy AP or AD, then I'll go Ma or Death Dance.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, again, I think like genuinely like the mechanics you have in this champ are better than like if I play this champ. Like I don't play Yone, so like if I play Yone, like I would mechanically just play the game worse. So I don't think like I think it's good that you one track this champ and like you play it pretty well. Pretty much all the things you do are fine. So it's just these decision making things and focusing on that, then like you'll be killing most likely. I assume is your win rate like decently high though? Like I don't know if you just don't play very much.
I think I have a 58 on Yone, like 300 something games.
Okay, yeah.
I believe. And here I kind of just like, yeah, troll.
Yeah. It is. You do kind of get greedy sometimes in like some random situations, which is that happens. But
Yeah.
and again, should be pushing bot lane right now. Pretty much the same thing. Like instead of looking for a fight angle, you should be pushing out the lane because the problem is, yeah, obviously not a great ult, but it is what it is. But either way, like when we're just going for all these random fights, when there's no objective or there's no like, there's no specific thing to do. If you lose this fight, the enemy win the game because they have the waves pushing so hard. If you win this fight, you just like get a little bit of gold, and obviously it's nice, but it doesn't do that much for you. So basically, like just by nature of the wave being pushed so far, it's already a bad situation because if you win the fight, you can't actually pressure any turrets. You lose the fight, literally game's over. So that's another reason why like pushing these waves is so important. Then the enemy can't just constantly pressure you. Whereas it's like you guys just won the fight. The amount of gold you got, like let's look at before the fight started. You guys, I think the fight was before this, yeah. So before the fight started, you guys were down 4.5k gold, a little more maybe. We'll just say it's 4.5k, something like that. And then we go to the point where you guys win the fight, and the overall benefit now you go from down 4.5k to down 2k. So you got a 2.5k net benefit in the late game when you kill the team who's ahead of you. That is not a lot of gold. Like obviously it's still quite nice, but that is not that much gold from one play going really well for you guys. That's 500 gold per person. That's maybe gonna end up being enough to get one extra person, maybe one, full item. Most benefits not gonna be that much for your entire team. And the point is, that's like the best case scenario where you won the fight, you got an objective after, but you're not able to get much more just because of all that. And so then we're still having to win an entire another fight, and we're not really that much stronger for it, and we probably used a bunch of ults and flashes and everything as well. That's a crazy ultimate though, so.
Yeah, look, he's misplay here. I think this could have been so much better.
Yeah, I think it's still really hard to carry that fight though. And again, like I'm not worried about, oh, you miss an ability or you do one thing wrong. Like those things are very easy to fix, and they're also never going to be entirely fixed. Like everyone's going to sometimes misplay stuff. The problem is how we're approaching the decision making and everything.
Yeah, no, that makes sense actually though. Like when you put it in the way of like gold per teammate, that makes a lot more sense, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the game is a lot like about the math of it is like how you should be thinking about a lot of things solo queue and solo queue. You should also be thinking okay. I'm gonna be hurting my viewers' ears randomly, but but you also just like kind of the way I think about it in solo queue is like the gold on me more valuable than gold on someone else. So even if I'm getting like I'd rather get like say 300 gold for myself than like a 500 gold overall play if it's like mostly on my team most of the time.
Yeah.
Unless like say someone's really fed on my team, they're really ahead, and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna start playing around that person because they're doing well. But most of the time, that's how I view it. Why did you go lethal specifically here? Like, what's the reasoning?
This was low-key just like before I actually like tried using grasp more, so this is kind of just like autopilot runes.
Okay. Well, I would just say like lethal tempo can be really nice when you're into like tanky champions because like you're gonna stack it up a lot. But like it would make way more sense to go I mean, you could go grasp or you could go fleet if you're into like a range top, depending on how hard you feel like the matchup is. I don't think Vlad would be that hard of a matchup. You can just do this early game and then you'll be fine. But
Yeah. I don't really like fleet on Yone. I don't know. I'm not a big
yeah, no,
fan of
that's
it.
fine. Whatever you prefer. Like again, the fleet would be purely for a surviving lane if it's like an awful lane. But in terms of like later on in the game, it wouldn't be that beneficial. And you should take second wind for your runes if you're into a range top.
Yeah, I usually swap my recovery runes.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have bone plating here. Never mind.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not like the end of the world. And so yeah, this is a time where you just all in him. Yeah, that's good. I mean, playing around cooldowns again, I think you played the lane how you should so far. Like you let him push into you, and you just soak XP. He was not very good, which is helpful. And you just traded with him once he used his like major cooldowns. I don't really think you needed the recall. I would have rather tried to get this wave in. So like again,
Yeah.
if we just look here, like you had enough time to get the wave in. You'd expect likely the enemies pathing top to bot because usually they're going to start red side. You don't have a guarantee, but it's likely that's going to happen. The problem is this wave is like in a pretty shit spot, so he could freeze on you and everything, and you have enough health where you could pretty much just push the wave. He has no like ignite or nothing like that. So you don't really, so you don't really have anything that scares you. So I would just like, I would trade health to get the wave in. Like I wouldn't actually care about fighting him. I just like, I'm going to push the wave, then get the recall off. This recall's fine though. It's not really like super negative. And then you should probably rush Wits End this game, by the way. Like you don't have
I
to
actually
go...
like rarely go Wits End.
Yeah, so that's something you should definitely change. Is like anytime you're playing mid lane and you're laning a mage, and then obviously here you're laning an AP champ, just rush Wits End and think of it as like the replacement for Bork. Like you don't need Bork if you're going Wits End. You can go both if you really feel like it, if you really feel like it's necessary. But a lot of times you can just not go Bork. Like for example, let's look at their comp, right? No HP. Nobody here is building an HP item like at all. Like there's not a single champion who builds an actual HP item. Like Vlad's items will give like a little bit of HP, like some AP items will. Nobody's building HP, so you're building an item based on HP. Doesn't really like do that much. The Blade of the Rune King. It's still good for your champion just because the stats work well, so you can build it regardless often. But Wits End is the MR makes your laning like god tier. Everything on that item still works perfectly with your champion. So it's definitely something you should look into a lot more because it's like once you hit that spike, it's really hard for a mage to ever deal with you.
No, that makes sense. I don't know. Sometimes I usually just like ego it and then rush Vamp Scepter on Bork for like sustain.
Yeah, I mean the sustain can be nice. You can just go Bloodthirster as your crit item right after, like, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. I usually go Bloodthirster if I'm not into like a lot of assassins or bursts.
Yeah.
And then if I am, I'll just go Shield Bow.
Yeah, those are fine. And you should maybe get anti-heal this game though. You definitely should get anti-heal. Like this specific game, I just wouldn't really worry about lifesteal. Like I would just be getting I would be getting Wits End. I would get Mortal. Honestly, I maybe would just get the Executioners, and then I would go like IE, and then I would go Mortal. Or if you wanted, you could go Bloodthirster and Mortal. Like that's up to you. I mean, you can go 3 crit items even if your champ is like it still works on your champ, even though you don't need 3. So
yeah,
definitely like anti-heal because it's Vlad and the Wits End, and that's gonna be much better for build. Again, I think honestly like how you played this lane is pretty fine. Overall, everything just been fine. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the issue is later, but currently you're in a pretty good spot. It was pretty straightforward.
I think here maybe I should have rotated instead of recalling because my Volibear was like invading.
No, I mean, I think this was fine. I'd rather just get control over the objective, push the wave really quickly. Either way, I would rather, instead of just like focusing hard on trading here, we're focused on clearing the wave and then being able to rotate. Again, it worked out here. You saw an angle to kill. If you see an angle to kill, go for it. Like, I don't mind. To me, it didn't look like it should be a great kill. It looks like we should just be focusing on getting the wave so we can then rotate and like help our team out or something. But if you see the angle, you go for it. Like, I'm not, gonna complain. But that's still something that I've seen you do a lot, like in the mid game as well. And so it's just something to keep in mind. And then again, you should be getting vision. I'm not sure if you 100% have ward, but Like, you should be focusing on making sure you're able to ward the objective, which you do, and then, yeah, you could just find a flank angle. Yeah, this should be very free then. I think you just go back topside or go through mid and then go topside. Like, you're giving up too much here when you try to go bot side like this. Like, typically, you're going to want to wait to go onto that side of the map until after the second dragon, because then, you know, your team's going to switch to more playing around the Baron side. So if you wanted to quickly look through mid here, you could do that, but I'd more focus on, again, similar to mid where it's like you push the wave and then you rotate. Top's the same in the mid game, it's just you push the top wave, then you're going to rotate. So I'd rather you get all of this wave, and then after that you look for something, which you eventually end up doing. I don't really see it. Do we have an item? Maybe we did.
I think
you just got a noon
quiver. I'm working on shield though now. I have Bork ready though, I think.
So the point is, I don't think there's a reason to recall like this. I'd way rather you just walk through this mid lane, you go and ward, or you see if there's any camps up, and then you just go towards the mid, and then you push that mid wave. Like, there's no, and obviously then there ends up being a bunch of people, so you wouldn't actually end up pushing it, but like that's what you'd be looking to do. And when you just recall for no reason there, you end up not being able to get vision, and you just recalled for a noon quiver. Like, it's not super valuable, and you just recalled right before that. So it's like, we recalled, we got one wave, we recalled again, and we didn't have a full item. We're just wasting time and not really doing anything. So you're kind of spending a lot of this time where you're currently really strong. You want to be finding advantages in the side lane, but you're letting now him get control over the wave instead of you having control over it, because you're not spending that time being on the wave right away, and you're not spending that time like pushing, getting vision, having that pressure. So it's kind of like, again, this is like a better decision, for example, here, where it's like, now we push that wave, he's recalling, now we get the time to rotate, and now it's a 5v4 here. Your team gets caught pretty quick, so it might not end up working out, but this is like the idea of, this is what I want you doing. Again, even if it doesn't work out, not the end of the world. Sometimes it's not going to work out.
Right.
I think you could have just gone to that fight still, mid. Like, I don't see why we couldn't have looked. We have ultimate, and our volley was still high health, but...
Yeah, I think I just went on this spot too much.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world. Like, I don't hate being here. Sometimes, though, when your team is not doing well and you're ahead, it's important to be like, okay, I can give a little gold to my laner if I see an angle to do something or to help my team. So even here again, just recall, go through mid lane or something. Like that type of thing. But it's all fine overall. Again, I like that sequence from you. That's what I was telling you to do plenty of times, right? Is push top, then rotate, and that's exactly what you did. If it doesn't work out, sometimes it's not going to work out. So again, after you push mid here, you should go topside right away. I would just go topside even at this point, because what's happening now is the objective spawning, and you're not there to clear that wave. So now you either have to go to the objective or the wave, and you make the correct call from this point to go to the objective and just ignore that top wave. But say you got that top wave first, you'd probably be able to catch someone there or make someone go there, and then you get to rotate first, and instead we're just in a complete 5v5. So you need to use your strength more on the side lane to like draw other people, whereas instead you're kind of just like creating a full 5v5. So
got you.
But yeah, you don't have your third ability, so it's a bit like all in. So probably could have just been a bit more patient with that, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you know when to give up, because it's like it just doesn't make sense to keep fighting here. At this point, like, you're totally fine to just leave. Like, you got what you wanted. You got the dragon. One person died.
Yeah.
Just leave. We're chilling. There's no reason to stay. So that's really the main thing here. Is just it was fine to leave after that fight went well initially. You didn't need to like keep going in, and then I think you're sometimes trying to force a bit hard, and you're also not letting your team make the plays, because like that first time where you wasted your third ability and ulted in immediately, or went in immediately, you didn't ult, but like you went in, no reason to go in before your team is making a play anyway. You have a Mumu, you have Volibear, like you have engaged champs. It's not like you have to like make the plays. Just let them do their thing, let them take the damage, and then try to carry the fight. Whereas when you're playing these fights, a lot of times you're the one like making the engage, and then you lose your health really quick because you are building a lot of crit, and then you're just really squishy. Also, again, like I said, this is a time where you want to be bot side now because the Baron is spawning. You want to be on the opposite side of the objective. Push out that lane, and then once that lane's pushed, then you come towards mid or you come towards top side. But if you're here right now, you just get stuck here. where everyone's going to be here, and then something like this happens where you get dove. That was almost a really nice outplay, but pretty hard to outplay 5 people. So what ends up happening. I don't know why your Mumu's bot side, to be fair. Obviously, that's not helpful.
I have like a really big problem with like random supports just going to side lane by themselves halfway through the game, which kind of sucks.
I mean,
I
that'll
showed here.
happen. Yeah. Like either way though, if you are just on the bot side first, like you just push that out, then you get to go either drag someone to you, and then it's hard for them to get Baron, or no one's there, you get a free wave, and then you can just go help your team afterwards. Like either way, it's still more beneficial to do that, but it is definitely unfortunate that your teammate was randomly on the wrong side. That is unfortunately common. I'm assuming you have an item or something. I want to see if you got. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And so yeah, now that Dragon is spawning, now it's like when you would go topside, because you're just always gonna want to.
Seeing for Baron because like I had known that he was bot side because I just saw him, and then Vlad was also bot. But
forcing Baron here is really risky when you don't really see like one, they can poke you out here really easily. You don't know if they have vision. This would be very risky, and then yeah, you kind of here. I mean, again, it's kind of just a thing about not letting your team make the play, right? Like you're trying to do a lot, trying to overforce things. You need to kind of understand when you're on this like assassin type of champion. A lot of times you just have to let your team make the decision first. Whereas when you try to force something like that, and yeah, forcing the Baron when they have vision and they have like ranged champions poke you doesn't make much sense. You guys FF or did they actually?
Yeah, no, my team FF'd.
Okay, I was gonna say, how'd they do that that quick? Okay, so I'm just gonna write notes out then. That's usually what we do. It was a little shorter than normal because your games were a bit shorter, but we'll just write out the main notes here from like the 2 games that we saw, and then if you have questions or you want me to word these things differently, or if something doesn't make sense, just stop me at any time as we're writing it out. But you see my notes, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we'll start thinking about the mid game first. Early lane mostly was fine in terms of how you played the lane phase, what I can think of. I think the main thing is you just don't understand when to switch your goal from being like trading to sort of like when your goal is to rotate. So, and there is the first recall. So usually in mid, look for a recall on boots. And once we get that recall, shift from trying to lane, trying to roam more. So that's kind of the first main thing, is just understand that we should try to roam a lot more, and then push wave before we roam. Third thing, roam with jungle when possible, rather than just roaming kind of by ourselves. There's other factors, and you mentioned some of them, like, you know, the wave pushing, obviously, things like that, that also are important to pay attention to, so pay attention to those as well. Then I'm just going to write kind of like, think about how enemy will respond to your engage. So like Ari, for example, again, she's going to ult, she's going to flash, she has these things, but you're still using everything as though she's just like Orianna with no mobility, and you're trying to force the things like the same way. So keep more in mind like the actual way the enemy will respond, what they have, and then potentially change your decisions based on that. One thing you would, for example, do more often in that lane matchup is just focus past level 5 on pushing the wave and then roaming, and then in the mid game, be more okay with side laning and side laning autocorrect, side laning, and let your duo lane come mid. Pretty straightforward. Just in general, when we recall out of base, look at the waves and go to the lane. Go to the lane. Go to the lane where nobody on your team is, pretty much. Like, it's just about, again, we want to get some type of side lane, that type of thing. Those are probably the main things in the mid game I can think of. Do we talk about anything else specifically in the mid game that you can think of or that you think is important?
No, I think you covered it all mostly.
Okay, so then we'll just write top after. So top, your lane phase, honestly, this game was good. I think in general, the only thing you could think of a little more often, which actually now that I remember the mid game, was like playing around the level diff, where there was the time early. So like, I'm just gonna write it down, even though it wasn't relevant to this game, but I'll just write play around level diff. That's pretty much always important anyways to keep in mind. But then yeah, your lane phase was perfectly fine. Make sure to push wave before rotating to first objective. And do not hard fight right before objective. Just push so we can roam. Most of the time, again, see a free kill, take it. So like you saw the kill angle there, you took it. To me, should have been focused a bit harder on clearing the wave first rather than trading. That happened a couple times. I think if you focus a bit more on that, you're going to be able to rotate more in the early game, which is nice, but it's still, you know, it's fine a lot of times to stay in your lane for the first objective as like a Yone, but just depends. Then just generally, it's like in mid game, and again, it's very similar to top lane or to mid lane, but in mid game, push out your side, then go for vision on enemy jungle, and then rotate to help team. If we are ahead and our team is behind, sometimes it's okay to give your laner a bit more golds in order to help our team in fights. And so this is kind of a very like, this is like the hardest thing about top lane is deciding when to rotate versus when to team fight, or when to stay in lane rather. And like generally, obviously it's going to be, you know, mixed things of what you need to determine. And I do have a coaching I did this morning that is with a top laner where I talk a lot about that. The video will be uploaded tomorrow, so you can watch that if you want more like explanations on that a little. But generally speaking, the thing you're trying to think of is like, okay, does my presence in that fight actually change anything or not? Like, do you think I can go to that fight and I can change it? If you do, then you're going to be trying to look for a time to rotate. And in this game, you definitely could have. Like, you had two really good engaged champs in a Mumu and Volley, and you were very ahead, and your team wasn't so far behind that it's, like, unplayable. And so 100% you could have been in those fights and carried them, potentially. And so when that's the case, your goal is to make the enemy top laner have to respond to you in top lane by pushing the wave. And then as they're responding, you get to move first, because then you have that, like, 5v4, you know, angle that you're creating. And then a different scenario is, like, my team is so shit, they're so behind, can't play, but I'm ahead. In that case, you just play for the 1v1, and you're constantly split pushing. You go to the opposite side of the objective, you try to take as much as you can. You try to find that 1v2 angle, because you 1v2 people one time when you're really fed, and the game can 100% turn around because you could get Baron or something like that. So those are kind of like the two differences when you're ahead and your team is maybe not doing well. And then obviously, like, there's all these other situations where it's like, okay, maybe you're actually behind, your team is ahead. Do you think that your top lane, like the top laner you're playing against, is going to be more valuable in that fight than you? Well, if you do, then try to keep him on the side with you, because then he's not going to go help them, and then your team is winning, they're going to win the fight. And then there's like these, you know, but generally that's kind of the main gist of it, so that's just something I want to explain. And then split push, opposite side, I can't type, opposite side of next major objective. So that's why you're going to split push on your normal lane until the second dragon is taken, because once the second dragon is taken, the next major objective will be the Baron, and so then you can start shifting towards the dragon lane. But before that, you're going to pretty much always push your lane and then do other things, because it's just going to be really hard, otherwise you're going to lose a lot. But once you lose your first turret, then, you know, it's a little harder for the enemy to push the second one. You might be able to rotate more often. Depends, but typically that's kind of the rule. And then itemization wise, I would say Wits End into AP champs more often, and be aware of when you need anti-heal. Yeah, again, these are the main things I can think of from this game. Are there other things or other questions you have in general, or anything?
Would you consider going anti-heal for like like champs like Volibear or just like champs who just like have like a
100%.
decent amount of healing? Okay.
Yeah, because it's like your 1v1 base, so it's really important that that 1v1 is, you know, one. So having anti-heal into that type of champ is really good. Plus,
Okay.
like, the stats on Mortal Reminder are actually just good anyway, so it's a fine item. And also, Volley
Sure.
specifically heals a lot, so it's not like he just heals a little. He heals a lot, so yeah.